This is Ambazonia Calling. News, analysis, commentary, opinion, editorials. Ambazonia Calling is a co-production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. Welcome. My name is Ntumfoyn Herbert, and I bring revolutionary greetings from our studios in Washington, D.C. to all of you, friends of Ambazonia and fellow Ambazonians on Ground Zero and across the globe.
It is better to wait for the right education than to continue the miseducation that begins with the singing of the anthem of a foreign country, which is an affront on the truth about Ambazonia. This is the monk.
Come village go get an attack. The second place where they want attack na Babanki, Upper Babanki. And these people go move with their cars and civil. My name is Sekot.
It's a part of a larger effort by the state to create chaos. The state of Cameroon to create chaos in the area.
Reviews are neither here or there on the success of the SAKO IG lockdown.
Ghost I know hold you work at Brack say you win with you win at the war.
I am innocent here.
I will not compromise on the sanctity, independence, territorial integrity of our homeland.
If Ambazonia's freedom is not achieved, then Africa cannot talk of its liberation. Even after achieving Ambazonia's freedom, we still have to genuinely free Africa. Africa is not a liberated land.
Smart policies, foolish implementation, too many cooks in the amber kitchen. If you know what is really happening, you probably need to have your head examined. This is Lambert Mbom.
Mr. Frundi once stated that if he had the agility, dexterity, and ebullient disposition of youthfulness, he'll be one of the Amber Boys. This is Tani Jude Agua Ozugen.
If anybody calls you claiming he is General RK or works for General RK and is asking you to give money, please decline. Know that person is an impostor. This is General RK of the British Southern Cameroon Resistance Forces.
This is edition 061 of Ambazonia Calling, coming to you this first day of September 2019.
Oh, freedom, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I freedom.
It is a new month, and there is no one out there better than T-Son to welcome and wish you well for this month of September 2019.
Samba, 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 no time to take time. Samba, happy new month, the month is here, the month is here. Samba, happy new month, me loving papa, Yahweh. Samoleja, Samoleja, is something that brother. Not time for you to check the sense, no be drama. What do you say? Father, I thank you for making me to see this day. Wine come for life, ben ambo. Baba, I am someone like you. Say, mon Dieu, merci. Mon Dieu, merci. Tu m'as jamais abandonné. Today, Wame, time, deliver us, oh Lord.
We begin this edition, as we do most of our editions, with an editorial. Here is Bobby Lambert Mbom with our editorial for this week.
One of Fela Ransom Kuti's best-known songs, Confusion, could have been played for the signature tune of the Ambazonia independence restoration quest at this stage of progression, or shall I say stagnation? Smart people sense-past king leaders, activists so clever they're undoing their own winning strategies, smart policies, foolish implementation, too many cooks in the amber kitchen. No doubt the soup tastes so bad. Confusion na wa, sang Fela Ransom Kuti. That's where Ambazonians are today. They are at a junction. Directives are coming from the diaspora and from jail. Some are coming from so-called local government areas and from restoration forces. There are Tanganji Paul fake ambers versus real ambers. If you know what is really happening, you probably need to have your head examined. Too much of anything they say is a disease. Ambazonians have too much of what is supposed to be leadership, and the outcome is a leadership deficit that the Guinness Book of Record would be happy to enter into its books. So savvy are today's crop of leaders that they do not know why they should cooperate, why they should collaborate, why they should work as a team, or why they should even be talking to each other. Those claiming to lead are suffering debilitating blindness. It is clear to everyone, including the non-visionaries, that the only way to independence and the only way out of the genocide is a negotiated settlement. Yet, there are more than enough Ambazonians out there who want you to believe it is possible to shoot one's way to BOYO and to independence. The amber blindness is only rivaled by the stupidity of La République. The colonizers seem to still believe that this independence war is some joke. Yaoundé thinks Ambazonia is like the prodigal son, bound to come back, begging to the father's house. Fat lie. Ambazonia is gone, gone for good. The only thing left to work out, which is why a negotiated settlement is inevitable, the only thing left to be finalized is when the colonizers pack out of Ambazonia and when the United Nations welcomes and seats Ambazonia as a member state of the world body. Any Ambazonian who is anxious to get there sooner rather than later has to invest in making the negotiated settlement work for Amber land and Amber landers. Do not expect Amber leaders to achieve unity. If they could, the church that Christ founded would have achieved unity ever since. What you are to encourage them to embrace is joint action and collaboration. 3 years since an overwhelming majority of our people embarked on the journey of no return to BOYO, the confusion over the date of a simple operation like the lockdown tells the extent to which the enemy just needs to pick their crack in order to divide us further. What a shame. Who wins when the team on ground zero is made to believe that their newfound enemy is a diaspora? Who wins when our people believe that there is no difference between the Atanganji fake Amber boys and real Amber boys? Who wins when in times of war, the enemy wants you to believe that the criminals taking hostages for ransom are also fighting for independence? How does anyone lock down a territory with fragmented control and divided allegiances and loyalties? Who wins when Ambazonian leaders are too illiterate in international politics to recognize that the nations and organizations backing the Swiss-led process won't back out just because a few Amber groups refuse to join the negotiations? There is a difference between skepticism and bad will. It is bad will to discredit a process one is also working doubly hard to join. It takes bad faith to suggest that Ambazonians should reject the Swiss for being too close to La République, but offer Norwegians as the saints coming from heaven to deliver independence for Ambazonia. This is the kind of political grandstanding fueled by power-mongering and social media gangsterism and surrogacy that will be the undoing of Ambazonia. This is Lambert Mbom for Ambazonia Calling.
What Cameroon has done to us, I want you never to forget. The pain they have brought to bear on this generation, I want you never to forget. Not out of hate, but so that the next generation will remember and make sure they do the things they are supposed to do, never to go through this again.
I will continue to play my part to ask the people of Southern Cameroon to take their revolution into their hands and continue the fight to liberate themselves.
I'm sorry to say, because of France's policies in Africa, in French Africa, the state of La République du Cameroon do not have any pressure on them to find a way to resolve this issue, because they are always thinking that
No matter what happens, France will always be there to give them coverage.
Still ahead in this edition, we have The Devil Unmasked with Professor Emmanuel Tatamenta. We have a winner of the Nyamfaka of the Week. And we are not done until you have heard our letter to Joshua. So stay tuned, kick back, relax, and enjoy Ambazonia Calling. Our records here at Ambazonia Calling, and we do not have exhaustive records, but our records show that in the course of the month of August 2019, La République du Cameroun slaughtered at least 319 civilians in Ambazonia, with over 40 of them in the Womb area and over 30 of them in that stretch of road between Ekona and Kumba. We have got a real estate deal made in heaven. If you are pre-qualified and are interested in a single family home in the Silver Spring area, contact ambercalling@yahoo.com. Write to ambercalling@yahoo.com. Only serious prospective buyers are welcome. Innocentia is a man for the news. He's got our first wrap-up of the news for this week.
Reviews are neither here or there on the success of the SAKO IG lockdown that supposedly started a week ago on Monday, August 26th.
Ghost I know hold you work at Brack say you win wait. You win at the war, we want win at La Republique.
Many video clips from the ground show that there was plenty activity going on for a lockdown, including in major pro-independent strongholds like Bamenda and Kumba.
I still want to warn the people then for Bamenda. Say for all those story buildings, many of those story buildings, they get snipers for day. No play around anyhow. No work foolishly around. The second place where they did it now in their numbers, now the Azam Hotel. And the next place where they did now GBHS Bamenda.
Dr. Samuel Sako released a video late in the week calling on Ambazonians to sacrifice just a little bit more for homeland. A majority of voices, however, say the SAKO IG lockdown has been over the top and inconsiderate.
What you do the world swear up. Now say we stand protect our people, never say we put our people for pain. And not be ready to support any man where they put our fellow people for pain.
Meantime, the Sisiko Ayuk Tabe and Ayabacho lockdown will be commencing Monday, September 2nd.
We must make sure we create what I call this triangulation. Expert negotiators, political leaders, defense groups, so that all of us are on the same platform all the time, so that there is predictability, understanding for post-independent stability, because that's the incentive for development.
I don't know why people them no figure sit down together, discuss and get an amicable day. The one show na power. Nobody, any man who want show power, make it show La Republique. Any man who want show say na he win, make it win La Republique. Take territories.
And I was talking about the shutting down of our territory.
From Canada, Cho Ayaba said he had the full support of self-defense volunteers joining the lockdown on 2nd September.
I know I have gotten permission from the defense forces. I've spoken with the leadership of the ADF. I've consulted with some of the groups in FAKO, and I have promised them they will be having a sniper down there to make sure all of these criminals who are running around as thugs in our homeland don't ply our street free.
For the leader of AGOVC, the lockdown is an advertisement to the world of the new landlords of Ambazonia.
Cameroon is defeated. Because when we say shut it down, it shuts down. Open it, it opens. We are the new owners, we are the governors, the world, the Americans, the Brits, the Swiss have to recognize that reality.
According to him, acting tough and never giving in is the only way independence will be achieved.
I will never blink I will not compromise on the sanctity, independence, territorial integrity of our homeland. The game of independence is about who blinks first. It is about who blinks first. Don't blink.
The AGOVC leader considers that colonial Cameroon has already lost control of Ambazonia.
Ambazonia is the place where your body can be reunited with your soul to make you whole again, free again, hopeful again, to build the brightest, strongest, and most hopeful country in the continent of Africa. God bless you all.
The colonial regime of Paul Biya is in another do-or-die matchup with Ambazonian independence restorationists over school resumption scheduled for tomorrow, Monday, 2nd September 2019. Fully aware that their back-to-school campaign has no takers, the regime deployed colonial administrators to use all manner of threats to try to get schools to start.
Northwest Governor Adolphe Lele Lafrique threatens to sanction absentee civil servants in his area of command. I am Babla Jonathan, and this is the 6 p.m. primetime newscast.
The colonial governor based in Bamenda, Lele Lafrique, traveled to Fundong, chief town of Ambazonia's BOYO state, spending an inordinate amount of time, as reported by journalists Smart Njika and Gabriel on Equinox TV.
The military clears the way and scares off unknown gunmen as Governor Adolphe Lele Lafrique travels to Fundong. The distance of 5 kilometers was done in 5 hours instead of 2 hours as a result of an attack that the convoy witnessed on its way.
Ahead of the trip, announcements that Com and Babanki were due to come under attack have put Amber boys under high alert.
Com village go get an attack. The second place where they want attack na Babanki, Upper Babanki. And these people go move with their cars and civil.
Close to 200 barricades were erected on the 55-kilometer stretch of road.
At least 168 barricades were met on the way, and at each point, the military had to clear it off.
The colonial administrator traveled to BOYO as the head of the military regime campaigning for a return to schools.
For the back-to-school campaign,
despite evidence for all to see, including the colonial governor, that his own security could not be guaranteed in BOYO, the house slave parroted promises of security for students.
The head of state has taken necessary measures to accompany crisis resumption in the Northwest region and here in BOYO division.
All of that journey was in vain. No daughter or son of BOYO State even showed up to attend any of the meetings the colonial governor had planned with the population.
The Fundong Council Hall expected to host the meeting was extremely big due to the lack of people.
A solid measure of the total lack of legitimacy of the colonial regime was a decision by the starving citizens of BOYO not to accept any humanitarian assistance from the colonialists.
Due to the absence of the population, the humanitarian aid brought by the governor was left at the SDO's office,
leaving the colonialists accusing civil servants of reportedly using their salaries to fund the Ambazonian revolution.
We seize the opportunity of this visit here, like elsewhere in the region, to condemn the civil servants that are earning salary without working, so that are even using the salary to fuel the crisis.
The Biya regime is firing civil servants indiscriminately on mere allegations or speculations that they might be close to or supportive of the Ambazonian restoration quest.
On Friday, I signed more than 100 decisions sanctioning civil servants in Northwest region that are not going about their daily activities. And the process will continue.
The Biya regime is so desperate to have schools resume in Ambazonia that they are making the right to education more important than the right to life, security, and freedom from fear. If the colonial governor thought he suffered on the journey to Fundong from Bamenda, which lasted 5 hours instead of 2, the ordeal of the journey back was nearly 3 times over, thanks to more daring attacks by Amba self-defense volunteers.
The return journey was about 13 hours because the confrontation between the military and the unknown gunmen was more fierce.
You are listening to Ambazonia Calling, your space for educated news analysis, informed opinions and commentary towards the recognition of a free, independent Ambazonia. I am Ntumfoyn. Stay with us.
Innocent is sticking around. He's got the second part of our news wrap-up for this week.
Internally displaced persons from Ambazonia piled into the office premises of the governor of the West region in neighboring La République du Cameroon, only to be greeted by broken promises and blatant lies. A source who was present at the scene says a police officer was dispatched to bear the news that Atangana Ponji and his bloodhounds were just telling lies to the international community about assisting IDPs. According to the officer, the government was supposedly restructuring aid to better deliver. IDPs were acting on an August 28th invitation from the former New Bell prison inmate and now Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atangananji. As many as 8 terrorist forces of La République du Cameroon are reported dead, even as sources fail to agree whether it was a highway accident along the Muyuka-Kumba Road in the southern zone of Ambazonia or whether it was caused by an improvised weapon of pro-independence defense volunteers. Pictures on social media show a capsized armored tank with strewn military apparel, including at least 6 helmets and a bulletproof vest. Sources say the armored vehicle was also replete with alcoholic beverages, including beer and liquor. No particular restoration force has claimed responsibility. Uncertainty looms in the air and the Christian community is again dumbfounded following the killing, allegedly by Fulani herdsmen, of a Bible translator a week to date last Sunday in Wum, a village in MENCHUM State, northern zone of Ambazonia. The Fulani attackers, yet to be apprehended, used a machete to dismember Angus Abraham Fung and killed a couple that had escaped La République du Cameroon brutality in another village and was taking refuge at the home of the Fungs. The attackers amputated Fung's wife, Evelyn, but she and another guest managed to escape. Sources say because she lost so much blood, she went into a coma on the first day in a local clinic, but has since received blood transfusions and is gradually recovering.
Now for you, when they attack, we don't shoot them something. Where they go again? If we come, now blood this, so when I look and I blood this.
Ambazonia freedom fighters in the Ndop area, NGOKETUNJIA state in the northern zone of Ambazonia, have released a video alleging that they outsmarted and outgunned enemy combatants of La République du Cameroon, forcing the terrorists into retreat midweek.
They say they want to attack vampire and NGOKETUNJIA. They don't burn them. They say why they go back again? And they empty case in them for granite this. Yes, may they come. Where them there? More jam, they take all their AK there.
According to the narrator, whose face we do not see, but we can see a shadow reflection of his automatic weapon in the sun, some La République du Cameroon soldiers were pulled away by their colleagues after they got hit by the firepower of the freedom fighters.
We shoot one of yes when I blood this. When I look and find I blood this, we shoot them. They draw them, enter with them. When I see and they line this. And they line the moon and look and you put them this way, they don't draw you. Shoot so one the inside farm. Moon and look and find. We don't make them today. See play where they can't cook that other man roof for shoe. But they want to come and give me the time that bail. Yeah, they don't ever deceive we for our land. They decrease.
Sources have confirmed an influx of armored cars in Babesi, NGOKETUNJIA, with the terrorist soldiers promising mayhem to the locals unless they return their kids to school.
Now that face 8 boxes. When I look at blood there, and I blood this, so when I look at now blood this. Vampire and NGOKETUNJIA need to laugh, yeah. We don't make not a thing.
The message from La République du Cameroon has been that either kids go back to school or get shot as enemy combatants. Still in the Ndop area,
La Republican burial for land.
A disturbing video has emerged online with Ambazonian freedom fighters revealing that La République du Cameroun terrorist forces are burying virgins alive as an alchemy to break whatever mystical powers Amba freedom fighters are using for protection.
When I don't bury for person when I bury him. Only for weakening the powers of the people and for the God, the God of the land. And they don't ever walk. The freedom fighter of Ambazonia.
Standing in front of what appears to be a body bag, freedom fighters vow that even this diabolical plan of La République du Cameroun will amount to zero.
Now, who makes in than this? Now, then this way they don't put them. Where they don't put them? Kasang. Now, virgin picking this way, they inside this right back. They don't put them for challenge. We say that so no more power be powerless. Yes. We don't move. And you want to say for us on the Amba soldiers? Yes. Will power ever be powerless? No! Power ever be powerless? No! No one day! No one day! No one day! No one day! Power we! Now Colonel Black the top. Pima for them! Pima for them! Yeah.
General Nambere is back in the limelight.
We can know one thing begin to suffer some penalty tomorrow. Many things that don't happen in another country, they will take note.
With a warning to those forces that are doing everything to derail the Ambazonian quest for independence by their atrocious acts.
I trust that Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga used to tell us a small talk. Say all the things they will do, all the atrocities they will commit, so we'll be aware. Say tomorrow shall come and you shall explain. And there are people that are going to point you. So people they do it because they don't care. Because they feel tomorrow they will not die. And after that nothing happen. But more than not say we go carry this fight for heart, a God-fearing fight. People worrying are we, and are we go get problem.
From a dimly lit room, probably still out of Ambazonia, General Nambere appears to be surrounded by the corps of SOCADEF, the Southern Cameroon's defense forces of Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga. In an online chat with Ambazonia Calling, Dr. Akwanga did not confirm whether General Nambere is now with SOCADEF, but affectionately called him a son, emphasizing that they had done some important training together. Finally, the Hague of Sea and IG Ayuktabi Entente has announced plans to appeal the life sentences of Sisiko Ayuktabi and 9 of his closest collaborators before the international courts outside of Cameroon. In a Facebook posting midweek, Dr. Ayaba Cho cited the victories of Fongoji Dinka, Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga and the late Albert Mukong in international courts, evidence, if anyone needed more, that La République du Cameroun is painfully aware of its abysmal record insofar as its legal standing on the independence of Ambazonia is concerned. A campaign is in its infancy to raise funds for the effort. Innocent Chia for Ambazonia Calling.
One piece of information not included in those two news wrap-ups is coming to us courtesy of the BBC. Randy Josa reporting.
To Cameroon now, where lawyers have announced a sit-in strike to protest the rise in abuses by the military and administrative authorities.
They are spoiling for a sit-down strike beginning on 16 September. In a previous protest and indefinite strike by English-speaking lawyers, the Minister of Justice said hunger will beat them back to the courts.
And that's the BBC's Randy Josa reporting from Yaoundé.
Ambazonia Calling. You are in the heart of the news shrine. Call us the Kalakuta Republic of commentary, opinion, and editorials. On the other side of the jingle of the devil on mask, we're going to have Innocentia sit down with Effie Tembong. You remember Effie Tembong from his testimony to the Congress of the United States. Effie Tembong will be speaking with Innocentia about the recent mass slaughter of Ambazonian civilians in the village of Nguo in the outskirts of Womb. That's coming up in The Devil Unmasked.
Welcome to our special interview segment, The Devil Unmasked, The Truth Out.
Innocent Chair is hosting The Devil Unmasked this Sunday. His guest is Effie Tembang.
After I read up your Facebook postings on this unfortunate event of Pa August, I thought you'd be the best person, given your proximity to him, to shed some light for our listeners and the world as such on what is really transpiring. By way of getting started on the subject, could you just tell us what happened in Womb when Pa August was attacked? What have you been told?
Yeah, he was attacked in the night of Saturday breaking Sunday. Not just him, he was killed along with 6 other people who were in the village. This is a village in the outskirts of Womb called Ngwo. The alleged attack took place by Fulanis who came in and butchered them, butchered all of the 6, including the wife of Pa Angus. Her hand was cut off. They were sleeping peacefully in their home, and he had another couple that had escaped attacks from their own village. And so they were hosting that couple in their home. And when the attack took place, the man and his wife were killed. Pa Angus was also killed along with 3 other people in the village.
So in total, that night, there were 7 people who were butchered by what is alleged to be Fulani herdsmen.
Yeah, there were 6 of them, 6 people who were butchered.
Is there any particular reason that you've gathered so far on why they attacked this particular home, this particular village?
Yeah, it's unclear. I don't know, but it is part of a series of attacks that have been going on. Before this attack, they had killed 17 people in the Womb area. So 17 had been killed. With this attack, we now have, the total is 23 people who have been killed, and some homes and property destroyed and burned, and others have been severely injured as a result of the alleged Fulani attacks.
Is there any way one can infer that they came after Pa Angus because of his proximity to Wycliffe Foundation? We know that he was an interpreter, he was a translator for the Wycliffe Christian Foundation, which is, for as much as I know, supposed to be reaching out to the furthermost of the world for Christian evangelization to proselytize the world. Is there any connection, or it's just part of the senseless killings that has been going on in this part of the country, where we know there have been efforts to stoke enmity between the Fulani herdsmen and just the ordinary people in the Womb area?
It's a part of a larger effort by the state to create chaos, the state of Cameroon, to create chaos in the area. There's been a historical problem in the area of Fulani herdsmen, the Dimbororo, as we call them, with the local population over grazer land. But it is not something that will amount to killings like this. As a result of the ongoing conflict in southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, the government has tried to get allies on the ground. And so it's been reported, not just in Womb, in several communities that I know where you have the Fulani presence, that they have been used, from the testimonies I've gathered in communities, that they have been used to either find the hideout of Amba fighters, and they have been used against the local population. They've just been given a free way and backing to be able to attack the local population. And this has been going on. So we know it's happened in Mwa, it's happened in Jikwa, it's happened in Acha, and it's been very common in the Agam area. And there may be some other areas that we don't know yet.
You are an activist within, I would say, the Christian evangelical community. You are a Southern Cameroonian Ambazonian who has testified at the U.S. Congress You are one who has relocated from Cameroon, I would say, to the U.S., not because you wanted to, but because of the safety for yourself, for your family. Does this attack not close to home? Do you sit back and think there was a possibility they could have been coming after you as well? When you paint the larger picture of government, the government of Cameroon trying to stoke this type of violence between communities that have not always had the best relationships.
What's been very clear is that anybody who lives in southern Cameroon or who speaks up about what's going on, your life is at risk. You are not loved by the government. And so the lives of everybody there is in danger. We've seen many, many innocent people killed. This is not the first time a Bible translator has been attacked. One of our workers in Jikwa area was killed in Jikwa. His wife had to run away in the forest for 2 weeks with 3 children.
This is the first we're hearing of it. How long ago was this?
This was sometime last year.
Okay.
That's one of the things that really made me, as I was watching this from a distance, praying and hoping that things would change. We had about 5 of our translators had to flee from their villages because their homes were burned completely. One of them, the secretary in the project, her husband, who was also a mobilizer, was killed on his bike. At that time when I saw this, I felt my life was not more important than the lives of these people who are dying. These voiceless people in their villages who are dying for nothing, something that the government could have engaged with the people and settled this. And I felt I needed to be able to stand up and speak on their behalf. And so that's what made me to speak, and that's what got me into trouble with the government as well. I don't regret doing this, and I'll continue to do it to advocate finding a peaceful solution, because there's a real problem. The people in Southern Cameroon have a right to a state, to their own country. It's a legitimate struggle. And this could have been done very peacefully without shooting anybody. As a Christian and somebody who's worked in all of these different communities, I have personally a responsibility to be able to stand up and speak on behalf of the voiceless.
By way of introduction, why don't you tell our listeners exactly who you are, what it is that you do, and how it is that you have been involved with these communities that allows you to speak so intimately about them and what they have been going through, please.
I served as the General Director of the Cameroon Association for Bible Translation and Literacy, and also was part of the leadership of an initiative, the Impact Initiative for the Global South, along with some friends, colleagues in India and Kenya, to promote Bible translation in Africa. I served with CAPTA from 2005. Prior to that, I was serving with Campus Crusade for Christ. I'm a missionary and working with communities across Cameroon. And in Southern Cameroon, we had grown to over 86 different languages that we were serving. So in many of these communities that are suffering today, I've traveled to all of those areas. I have friends in Funte who have escaped to Nigeria, pastors who cannot even live in their own homes, a pastor who was shot and killed, and many, many friends in all of these different villages, Agam, Isuwe, Bafmen, all of those areas, and in Kumbo, in Kambe, in Misaje, in Fonfuka, those different areas, Ako itself, the areas I've visited, in Jikwa, all of those areas that are places I know people. We have worked, we've helped community leaders. Our dream as an organization, or my own dream too, was to be able to see communities take leadership to lead change at the community level. We brought tribal chiefs together to help build their capacity to lead change in their community. And I just feel the war is destroying some of the things we had tried to build. And the Bible translation work we're doing has been completely disrupted in many areas. And people have been displaced. Some of these people are in the forest. And so it is, to me, it's unacceptable. And I'm trying in my own little way to be a voice out here and to be able to assist these people.
Is it not important to also point out that in your job, this outreach job, some of those that you reached out to were definitely even the Fulanese, right? And so this is not just something that it is the Christian community that is suffering, there are also people that you probably were reaching out to either to convert or to work on with some of these projects, development projects that it did not matter, you know, whether you were Christian or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want this to be something to really go against the Fulanis. The Fulanis,
That's
I have
correct.
many friends in that community, and there are many Fulanis who actually support the cry of the Ambazonians and Southern Cameroonians for a free state. There are some Muslims who are also part of those fighting. And so I just feel like this has been a manipulation, and I've been so happy with the restraint in these different communities, because at some point, some people were calling for attacks towards the Fulanis, and others said no. People have shown calmness so far, but it is very risky because it can explode, especially when you have loved ones killed. You never know. You cannot control the local population. But so far, it's been restrained, and which is very encouraging. But we don't know for how long if this continues. And so some of these people, like I say, I have met with many of them. I have many friends in the Fulani communities. I've worked with many, even Muslim chiefs, met with some Ardos, and some of our work has impacted the lives of these people. For example, in Babanki, when I met with the tribal chief in Babanki, the secretary at the palace was a Muslim guy. And we worked together with these people because our job was not just Bible translation, but it was also development. How do you help these people have access to basic information that help improve their own lives with basic skills in the area of agriculture, in things about health, things about human rights?
From your perspective as a Christian, talk to us about the way forward. What do you see happening in these communities that are hurting across the board? What do you say at the same time to Evelyn, the wife of Pa August, who is not just mourning the husband at this point in time, but is looking at evidence from her amputated arm, the evidence of just how wicked others can be, just how vicious, how far this is gone? What do you say to her? And what has she said to you? Because there's a possibility you've spoken to her.
I haven't spoken to Evelyn directly yet because she's still in pain. She's still going through. She just recovered a little bit, regaining her consciousness because she was unconscious for more than a day. And so I'm hoping that as time goes on, I'll be able to talk to her. I've been able to talk to there's another lady who lost a husband. We were able to get her to safety to Nigeria. Her husband, a pastor, was shot in Fumte. I've been able to talk with her, and she's recovering. But generally, I would say our people are hurting. Our people are going through unbelievable trauma. Children who have lost loved ones, people who have lost their whole life inheritance, or some of them have lost things they had worked at all their lives. Their home, they have no homes anymore. So our people are going through some horrific pain and trauma, and they need help. They need help in the form of prayers, praying for them, but also relief, immediate needs. There are people who don't even, some of them escape just with the shirts and the clothes they had on. We had to look for help left and right to help some others buy new clothes where they had escaped to. But there are many more in the forest. We don't even know what's going on in their lives. We don't know what's happening to them. They have no shelter. They're exposed to mosquitoes. They're exposed to all kinds of danger. So these people really need desperate help. They need trauma healing, because part of that trauma healing comes with forgiveness. We've seen examples where, like in Rwanda, where people were able to be healed through forgiving those who killed their loved ones. And as Christians, that's to me, that's the path to take. But it doesn't undermine the fact that justice needs to take its place. And we need justice for the people of Ambazonia, for the people of Southern Cameroons, because they have a right to a homeland. They have a right to decide their future. No one should decide what kind of future they have. One other issue here, because it's a colonial problem, and they need to be decolonized, because when you colonize a people, you take away dignity. And so we want to make sure that that dignity is restored. Some of these people have suffered rape And it's not easy to be healed of those things. So it would take really God's grace to see these people healed. We talked a few years ago about the responsibility to protect. And I do think the international community is failing in that doctrine. They came up with the doctrine of the responsibility to protect. Here is a case of a glaring failure of a country to protect, and people have looked away. It's very shocking. And our hope is that some people will be able to stand up and speak out and do the right thing, and that mediation will finally happen, and that will create space for the healing that needs to take place among the people of Southern Cameroon.
One final question, if I may. Again, I want to remind our listeners that we're talking with Mr. Efi Tembong, and is very close to the community where Mr. Angus, a translator for Wycliffe Foundation, Bible Translation Foundation, was allegedly butchered by Fulani herdsmen last Sunday. The last question that I have for you, knowing just how much you've been involved with talking up the hill, the U.S. Congress, trying to invite their attention to what is going on. How much progress do you think has been made?
We know we live in an international environment that is not easy. It's a very difficult environment. There is a status quo or an international order that some of the superpowers like to maintain. It is often very slow to be able to respond to needs because there are many crises around the world, but there are also conflicting interests, especially in a region like ours where this has been going on, and the international media has not covered what's going on. And so we decided to make sure that we can make a lot of noise, talk about it, advocate, and bring the attention. There's been some progress, but not what I really had expected much progress to happen at this time. We know about the resolution in the U.S. Congress,
yes,
even though it's not what I'd expected, but that is a step in the right direction. I'd expected them to talk about the root causes, resolving the root causes, but having a resolution in Congress is already a good thing because it shines the light on what is going on and we can push further. And there is also another one drafted in the Senate, and we're still fighting to make sure that they can add resolving the root causes as part of that resolution. And of course, with Canada, we'd also engaged with Canada. And we had a letter from the New Democratic Party of Canada that agreed with our call. We had three calls. We had an asking for international intervention, asking for international mediation, and international investigation of war crimes. And we got a response from the New Democratic Party, which is a member of the Canadian Parliament and also a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, that they support that call, and they were going to work with other parties within the Canadian Parliament to push the Canadian government to make that call as well. And so they came out, they had a resolution as well. We'd engaged with the British Parliament. Now they have formed another group, an all-party group for Cameroon, which is co-chaired by Lord Boateng and Honorable Tonia.
Lord Boateng, who famously brought this to the attention of the U.S. I think it was the U.S. House of Lords.
The British House of Lords.
British House of Lords. I beg your pardon, not U.S.
Yes. Yeah. So those are some efforts. There are many efforts going on by Southern Cameroonians around the world. So all of these different efforts are pushing and trying to bring attention to what is the attention of the international community to what is going on. And gradually it's growing. But on the other side, the Cameroon government has also engaged with lobby firms. They've hired lobby firms that are high-powered and very highly connected to be able to thwart any efforts we do in terms of raising awareness and try to still push a positive image of Cameroon within the Western context. And they're trying to use their allies to be able to do that. I believe that we have been able to move things in the right direction, and there's no Western leader that can say they don't know about what is going on. What is delaying things is as a result of the interest, the big interest involved, and the whole idea of a world order that is difficult to change, it is difficult to shake, And so sometimes it needs disruption. When you disrupt it to a level where they feel they cannot stand the disruption, and then they make space for you. And so I believe that with the advocacy, it's part of that disruption that is going on, so that they will not be able to rest. The Bible talks about a widow who went to a wicked judge. And even though that judge would not want to do anything, just because this widow was bugging him so hard every day, he had to bring justice. So that's what we want to do. And that's what I encourage all the advocates out there, all those who are activists, to not relent their efforts, to continue to speak up for those who are destitute, for the voiceless back home, because they need us. They don't need a division. They need us to speak about what's going on and bring attention and find a solution to the problem we have.
Thank you so much. It's a beautiful recap. It's unfortunate that we are talking under these circumstances. Again, we've been talking with Mr. Epi Tembong, and we just thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for your advocacy for the people of Ambazonia. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I just pray that we will continue to pray and see God help us through these difficult times.
Amen.
Our youth demo, that it can't finish. Our boys demo, they don't finish. From Manfred to Boya, from Bamenda to Southwest, no shade every day, oh, killing every day. People they die every day, like say they been a chicken. My people live. Prayer is the key. Oh, may we pray, oh. May we pray. Oh, may we pray. May we pray. Oh, may we pray. May we pray. Ramagade, legede. Oh, Ramosagala, Rosagade. May we pray. Mika Brazandala. Jesus. May we pray.
All the kidnapping for ransom that's going on in Ambazonia is real. Plenty of it is to be blamed on Atanganji boys, but some of it is to be blamed on some of the criminals that have taken advantage of the ongoing self-defense efforts of real Amber boys. General Arke of the British Southern Cameroon's resistance forces issued a disclaimer this week refuting allegations that forces loyal to him would be associated with any of this kidnapping or hostage taking.
Some rumors that are coming up from MENCHUM about the British Southern Cameroon resistance forces attacking the Fulanese or the Mbororo people there. No. I'm here to disclaim that we are not responsible for such an act. We do not attack our people. We have a code of conduct that forbids us to do such things. We don't. We are taking good care of our people. All the Fulanese, all the Mbororo that have ever come in contact or with General Arke troops would testify to that. We don't do such things. We don't extort monies from people. We don't force people to do things against their will. We don't do that. So please, I believe the person who has come up with this story is ignorant or is there to just cause distraction. We don't do such things to our people. No, we don't do such things to our people. We have a system where we are being provided with everything that we need. So we don't go about extorting money from people. If anybody calls you claiming he is General Arke or works for General Arke and is asking you to give money, please decline. Know that person is an impostor. That person is a thief. Please don't listen to that person. And if you want to know detail about us, please try to contact us through our Facebook page or group. From there, you will know details about the British Southern Cameroon resistance forces. And I just want to tell Ambazonian that these rumors are just coming up to distract us from focusing on the enemy. I don't have anything to do with the civilians. I am here to defend my people. I don't have anything to do with our civilians because we have a system in place in all our territories. Our civilians, they have all the right. Their rights are being respected. If you don't know anything about the British Southern Cameroon Resistance Forces, then please try to visit any of our territory. You'll learn more. Thank you very much.
Ambazonia will be developed not by those our parents call the long crayons, not those empty big book people who call themselves elites, but by the army of hard-working citizens willing to roll up their sleeves and get dirty.
The foreign and local NGOs and journalists suddenly crusading for schools' resumption are not doing so out of altruism, and would be hard put to deny the charge of hypocrisy and self-interest.
Baby girl, I say with you, I'm just surprised. My love for you, girl, I know if it take you out of sight. Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh? I do anything. Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh? Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh? Everything. Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh? I do for you. I do anything for you, eh? Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh?
All the brouhaha about return to school means nothing. School not being an end in itself, there is no use for it without a curriculum that allows students to concretely improve their lives. The monk has got the following analysis in which he wonders if La République du Cameroun even understands what education is supposed to do to a nation.
The crisis of states' incompatibility has led to a stalemate situation with schools shut down for the third year. Some people are getting anxious and worried about the future of their children. One thing not to forget, the current crisis was sparked by a revolt by teachers to the miseducation curricula implemented by the Franco-Cameroon education departments in schools in former British Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, leading to a poor quality of education and overall low standards in graduate competence in real skills.
This is verbal to visual video. We're going to be talking about a favorite topic of mine, curriculum design.
Teachers tried to defend their virtual territorial space, the education space, from policies that made it worse than it could be, and that for the teachers also lowered their quality as educators, and in their eyes, and those of anyone with eyes, was unsustainable for them, for the kids, and for the nation, Ambazonia. No point going through the motions of going to school when no one is really getting educated. Education reboot? Yes, but hold on. All curricula must be revisited. It's not hard.
This is one of my favorite things about teaching, the planning of a cohesive learning experience that helps your students go through a particular transformation.
Note, if you pay fees for your child to go to a school, you may want to know what exactly you are paying for. How do you know? You ask the school for curricula for all the courses you are paying for your child to learn, unless you don't care. Of course, you are free to do that too. But the point is that schools dispense courses to students not from thin air, but from a deliberate list of themes, objectives defined in curricula that every parent should find satisfying to peruse. Content and pedagogic standards may stay or look the same, but there is no denying that change is in the air. This goes to the very foundation of education at every level, beginning with preschool through postgraduate levels. So, no excuse to not be intrigued by what your child is actually learning at school. I want to think that a reboot of schools in Ambazonia will take into consideration the fact that education all over the world is changing and technology is not waiting for Ambazonia. To restart schools without watching our step is to risk being crushed by the fast-moving train of world education as our citizens try to hitch a ride on the new world education train. Even so, it is better to wait for the right education than to continue the miseducation that begins with the singing of the anthem of a foreign country, which is an affront on the truth about Ambazonia. This is the monk for Ambazonia Calling.
My brothers, my sisters, Ambazonia people, Nashi Masha for Ambazonia this. I salute one and all. For this sound where I bring up, we don't say who they like Papa God. Because that Papa God will be give Ambazonia land. And I salute the whole Angie. I salute the whole Ambazonia people. I salute President Sako personally. I salute the whole council for defense for Ambazonia. I salute all my colleagues from Northern Zone and Southern Zone. I salute even my mommy waiting for prison. I salute my sister waiting for prison for Yaoundé.
This is a lesson that every Ambazonian should know by heart from real politics. The world won't roll over just to please the heart to satisfy in the ranks of our people. Those who choose to be spoilers will be free to do as they please.
I recognize the fact that even those I consider to be egoistic or to be selfish, I recognize the fact that the intent is good. People simply think I have the best route to Boya, I have the shortest way, the easiest way. I recognize all that.
The search for a completely neutral country will never be successful because there is no such thing as a perfectly neutral country to serve as mediator.
We should trust in our cause that is embedded in truth and it's God ordained, and we should hope for the best while expecting challenges.
Our job is to ensure that the negotiations work for what we seek and that our leaders and negotiating team do not sign onto any deal that falls short of outright independence for our homeland. In other words, our destiny is in our hands, not in the hands of the mediator.
Where is the war in southern Cameroon? Is the war at La République? No. So who has crossed borders? La République du Cameroon. They need to ask La République du Cameroon to cease fire, because who also drew first blood? La République du Cameroon. So you can ask someone defending to stop violence.
The job of Ambazonians today is to make the Swiss-led process be the equivalent of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, whose implementation by the United Nations culminated in the independence of South Sudan in July 2011.
Drum roll, please. And welcome to our Nyamfoka of the Week segment. We don't do foolish, but when there are capital fools out there, we make it our duty to find them, and every week we crown one of them the Nyamfoka of the Week. For this week, we've got another impressive lineup of the kings and queens of foolish. Veronique Ntumfoyn has got the week off but here to deliver on his first assignment on Ambazonia Calling is XXX.
Finishing in third place this week are barristers at law in Ambazonia. These are the very people who called for an indefinite strike in 2016. Along with teachers, they dragged every Ambazonian into the strike. Then, they shamelessly cut and ran. They proved the colonial Minister of Justice of La République right. They were going to go back to work when they get hungry, that minister had said. The same lawyers who returned to court without obtaining a single demand fulfilled are now promising to go back on another indefinite strike beginning next September 16th. The worst thing is that barristers at law in Ambazonia are signing up to this strike called by the Colonial Bar Association of La République. Talk of more book, less sense. How can they be joining lawyers in a neighboring country who do not care if they were killed or leave? Why do you join the strike called by lawyers in another man's country unless, as lawyers in Ambazonia, you are this week's third place finisher for the crown of shame, the Nyamfuka of the week?
Nyamfuka them all.
In runners-up position this week is the colonial governor posted to Ambazonia's northern zone, Lele Lafrique. This is the man who needed a military convoy several vehicles long, plus an armored car and an entire company of soldiers to fight his way through nearly 200 barricades in BOYO state. This is the man whose occupation forces fought for 5 hours from Bamenda to Fundong and then 13 hours from Fundong back to Bamenda for a combined total of 18 hours just in order to set foot on Fundong soil and head back to Bamenda. This is the fellow who still managed to tell reporters that they expect schools to resume tomorrow, September 2nd. The man who works for the slave master Bia and who could not be afforded security for his own travel, claims that Bia will provide security for students who return to school in Ambazonia tomorrow. It is true that Lele Lafrique is a Nyamfuka any day and any week of the year, but for taking stupidity to a whole new level this week, Lele Lafrique is this week's second place finisher for the crown of shame, the Nyamfuka of the week.
Nyamfuka them all.
Winning the crown of shame this week and doing so with distinction are the bishops of the Roman Catholic Church in Ambazonia, also known as the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province. Meeting as an ecclesiastical province, the bishops of Ambazonia shamelessly chose politics over the word of God. The bishops chose to fall in line with Caesar than to defend that which is God's. Instead of upholding the sanctity of life as the most sacred duty of every Christian, after all the commandment says, "Thou shalt not kill," the Catholic bishops of Ambazonia decided that it was okay if students in Ambazonia go to school in the midst of the kind of insecurity in which thousands of them have been slaughtered so far. The bishops who should have been decrying the Bia regime for violating the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," have chosen to line up in support of Bia commandment which says, "Ambazonian children shall go to school in insecurity." The shame is on these Catholic bishops who remind us of a period when the church was too afraid to denounce slavery, the Holocaust, and genocide. The Catholic bishops of Ambazonia are this week's winner of the crown of shame, the Nyamfuka of the week.
Nyamfuka them all.
This is XXX for Ambazonia Calling.
The Social Democratic Front of Ntumfoyn, which has been outlawed in Ambazonia, is still struggling for relevance. Tanya Jude Agua Ozugan in the following analysis says the SDF is a spent political force.
Mr. Frundi once stated that if he had the agility, dexterity, and ebullient disposition of youthfulness, he'll be one of the Amber Boys. Nice words that can resonate with our nationalistic psyche, but unfortunately they are deeply deceptive. A Social Democratic Front autopsy of 2019 shows a spent political force in colonial Cameroon with shrinking electoral gains and a very bleak political prospect. The SDF party is an organization drifting from its roots as a grassroots organization and becoming a top-down bureaucracy, disconnected from local activists, recklessly reliant on the financial largesse of its principal adversary, the ruling CPDM party of colonial Cameroon, and wallowing in a stream of autocracy.
And Jerry, last April, John Frundi was kidnapped for the first time, and the secessionists demanded that his political party withdraws its members of parliament from the National Assembly and vote in favor of secession, which he has often refused.
This explains why many Ambazonians treated a reenactment of the 1953 walkout from the Eastern Regional House of Assembly as a joke. This is similar to past overtures of Frundi intended to deceive an unsuspecting populace. He repeatedly touted similar overtures, but when push came to shove, he was nowhere to be found.
The leader of one of the country's main opposition parties was released by his captors on Saturday after being abducted by unidentified gunmen in the country's restive Anglophone region.
Our tales of repeated kidnaps and harassments of Frundi by Amber Boys mere antics to resuscitate the SDF carcass? Is it a strategic move to sanitize its image as a barren political instrument? Is Frundi leveraging the Ambazonian restoration quest for financial gains? If this is his calculation, it is indeed a dispirited one.
Now, John Frundi, who heads the Social Democratic Front, SDF, was taken from his home in the city of Bamenda on Friday, the second time in 2 months he had been kidnapped.
You cannot help but raise these questions because his artful funding of the Ambazonian restoration quest and the concomitant willingness to do nothing is the most plausible answer to these questions. Many have contended that expecting the SDF to throw its unalloyed weight behind the Ambazonian restoration quest is like expecting blood from cabbages. Surely, as our people often say in Pidgin, grass go grow for una foot. This is Tanya Jude Agua Ozugen for Ambazonia Calling.
Do not forget we've got that new segment that's coming up, Big Mob Corner. Jackery Day, Big Mob Day, Tory Long, na time short.
Ambazonia's freedom, Africa's liberation. Our theme is coined from the very teachings of Dr. Nkwame. Independence of Ghana is not complete until Africa is totally liberated. If Ambazonia's freedom is not achieved, then Africa cannot talk of its liberation. So we have come to Ghana to start a new dynamism in the continent of Africa.
Ramagade, legede, oh, Ramosantala, brozagade, Lika brazandala, Jesus. Papa God, intervene for we, do for we, as you do for the Israelites. The way who they suffer, in the life so you don't forget we. Papa God, intervene for we. Orphans are crying, widows are crying, fatherless children are crying, the less privileged are crying. Oh, may we pray. Oh, may we pray. Oh, northwest and southwest, when I come together, may we pray. Oh, prayer is a key. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, let me pray. Oh, let me pray. Oh, let me pray.
Big Mob Corner. Jakri Day, Big Mob Day, Tori long, na time short. Na Lamben bomb get with Tori for Big Mob Corner the week.
I tell una say, La Republique don't play. This matter for school way no open so for Ambazonia. He worry La Republique time no day. Now so them don't send all big man for mission. Colonial soldier, colonial SDO, colonial governor, colonial delegate for education, their own don't come. SDO and governor them they work up and down like people way them they work find God. And like the dry head with them day now, you see governor way he go talk for empty hall them, like for Fundong the other day. If man don't look out with La Republique, their civil servant go work empty last Na me I tell una, lie no fine. Masabia no care. In 1 year, what kind of problem they get? If school no start, Masabia go put paper for SDO, governor, gendarmerie commander, and police commissioner them eye. I tell una say, na San Ambazonia them don't put for these people them gari. The thing we wonder me for this palaver na say, La Republique di waka back safe. No be na La Republique don't show we say them fit drag picking them from house, take and go for outside for yard, shoot them for before their papa and mommy them eye. No be na La Republique fit born any old mommy, old papa for house. No be them fit kill any man picking and rape any woman for Ambazonia with them like. Then why them they beg for this palaver for school? They no fit do like the God then they talk say them be. As God been talk, make light e be and as so light be. While La Republique no fit just talk say, make school them open and make pikin them go back for school and it happen. Ha! SDO them and governor them with all that soldier people them get right for fear. Masabia na devil. If he kill old mommy for show say na he get power. My palawa no be even Masabia. My problem na say we Ambazonia Sept we no different oh. If Masabia na big monster, big nyamfuka, Ambazonia leader them they like small nyamfuka them. Small power where them get for this revolution, na so them don't high pass Gary. Comrade Sako and Comrade Seseko, no dey talk again. Comrade Akwanga and your friend Comrade Ayaba, na that so quarrel. Small time with people for ground zero, them go get for show book for proof which lockdown with them close their store for observe. You dey observe na lockdown 1 or lockdown 2. You dey support na independence wey na Seseko dey for before or na the one way na Sako one add good news so way I hear from Ambazonia this week so. Na the news say ADF and Sokadev fighter them meet up with them no fight. With them no guzang themselves or wear the same foot for one trouser. I glad say Sokadev he go give back the weapons them for ADF fight no comot. That one the show say we fit chop for one plate when man no put poison for a brother he chop. Abeg, make we leave all this empty ye fight them for power wey we never finish get with country sep. How we fit encourage that Aijo versus Bia kind fight for Ambazonia? No be Sako dey like Bia if Seseko get the same power wey Aijo be think say if he use for move Bia from power after he put Bia like chop chair. How you fit give power for chop chair then take backside door enter back take am? As I be say power sweet, but if power sweet pass success for Ambazonia then na craze that. Abeg, make man no hear this my talk he take vex carry rope go hang himself o. I just the language tori how I take my own eye see am. My barren restore. I say tori day na time short. Na me un umbrella lamb and bomb for Big Mob Corner and na for Ambazonia Calling where I throw away this story so.
Oh, Abba Father, bless us. Oh, Jesus Christus, guide us. Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty. So, restoration train is our freedom train.
We've got to do it together, building trust amongst leaders and making sure we make compromises that can take the Ambazonian people to a new horizon.
Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty.
The message we are sending out to all other Ambazonian groups is that we have to work together, because it's only in working together that we would achieve what we want faster.
Oh, Holy Spirit, lead on the restoration journey of our liberty.
If we do not do that, we are going to be having South Sudan.
So restoration train is our freedom train.
If you have been ranting, if you have been complaining about what's going on in this revolution, if you've been taking no action, someone is calling you out now. Here is Barrister Sia Jumvuambe, who says, stop sounding like a broken record, do something about it.
A highly recommended remedy for tireless ranters and professional armchair critics, increasingly sounding like broken records, is perhaps these wise words of accomplished poet Maya Angelou. Angelou wrote, "What you're supposed to do when you don't like a thing is change it. If you can't change it, change the way you think about it. Don't complain." When shall we Ambazonians stop ranting, finger-pointing, mud-slinging, criticizing without any viable solutions, diagnosing without prescribing without any other move towards curing, dismissing unappreciatively without perhaps volunteering to take up the mantle of leadership ourselves? When shall we stop complaining? And please, none of that stale vomit about this whole thing being a revolution and the role of some is just to expose the rotten wounds and then walk away from the stench and pus they have exposed, expecting others to clean and dress the wounds. We've gone beyond that point. As far as I'm concerned, we are now all aware of the rotten wounds and should be actively engaged in cleaning, dressing, or even amputation of infected limbs if need be. Personally, I think it's time to embark upon Operation Replace the Leader You Don't Like or Want by simply nominating yourself leader and going out in full force to get people behind you or bringing forth the leader that you like or want and investing time and effort in rallying support for that leader. For those who do not see the need or usefulness of leaders and would rather work through projects, present a project convincingly, invest time and effort in rallying support for the project. If we turn ourselves into mere exposers of rotten wounds, then I guess the struggle for the liberation of Ambazonia shall just become one exposed, gigantic, filthy, rotten wound oozing the most disgusting pus mankind has ever seen. A rotten wound that mankind shall most definitely also turn away from in justified revulsion. Obviously, I'm not the first or only person expressing frustration at the time and energy that, in my opinion, is being wasted on the aforementioned largely unproductive activities. In fact, I'm probably already sounding like a broken record myself. This is Sia Jumvuambe for Ambazonia Calling.
Since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of God suffered violence. Let the violent one takes it by force. Show on the ground king. Boom. You the cry, about what the cry. Don't tire, about what why.
Women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. About what they crying, crying. We the crying. Wanna free me, women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. We the crying. Wanna free me, women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. We the crying. Wanna free me.
Still I'm tired of this like Republic wanna free. Amango today inside pay, you know the free. We president on the side say all my mafia. Grand ambition, fuck that slogan, no yay. Presido, the pay jaga jaga. Una take all in the way for scatter. They need 102 students for send address. Una select 2 Anglo-Boss, escape address. Bia, young, Dijon, prison. Escape who know why man show BBC they for prison. They don't tell all we then start for colors Anglo-Fools. Fuck up the government, we ain't tools. Minister for communication, no fit talk good English. Southern Cameroon independence, that's my wish. No good third roads, no seaports, no light, no water, no airports. President, you overget fake promises. Wait to happen, failing us, you bring us diseases. But men are the cry, we are the ask why. You don't come for that chair, you don't go shake, you go die.
Women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying. About what they crying, crying. We the crying. Wanna free me, women are the crying, crying. We are the crying, crying.
If you've been complaining about the marginalization of women, here comes a woman on the marginalization of men. Enjoy.
As you're taking care of your wife and your children, take care of yourself as well. Save for your old age so that your life will not depend on anybody. So that by that time, if the children fail or if the wife fail, you will see where to fall back at to eat, especially the ones men in Nigeria. You will say, my wife is good, he loved me so much. All the divorce you see started with honey, sweetie. All the bad wife you see today, they have been a good wife, pretending. Men do not pretend. Women pretend. They will hate you, they see pretend. When you offend them, they don't forgive easily. Men are not like that. Men are honest. 80% of men take care of their homes. They take care of their wife from their heart. They give everything up just to take care of their wife and their children, just for them to be happy. At the end of the day, tell me their reward? Stroke. Stroke. They have stroke. Government fail them as well. Nigeria government will fail you. They will say, go and bring social paper before you collect pension. And they know that you will not get that paper. So they use that one to disqualify you in old age. When that woman will brainwash your children and begin to tell them, and you know that every child, even you listening to me, even if your baba, your mother is still alive, you still believe your mother. You don't know the mother tell lies. When they will sweet talk to you, everything your daddy do, they know how to manipulate their children. Even if the children is Obama, even if the child is Baba, this Buhari now, if the mother is still alive, you know how to manipulate their children. And they capitalize on the love of children, because the children, every children love their mother. They capitalize on that and finish the men. God bring me into this world to tell the men the truth. God would have told me that so many men die in pain. They die secretly in pain in their own home. In the village, you see them, they gather one place. When they talk among themselves, they go back separate. Nobody know what they are passing through. Remember that why you married is because of your old age, so that you can find peace in your home. I don't know when I will die, because my message in this world, I have a very limited time to live in this earth. I'm telling you, my message is to talk about men, the marginalization of men. I beg you, as you're listening to me, take care of yourself, so that you will not have high blood pressure, so that you will not have stroke, so that you can live long. Tell me, old women everywhere, landladies, who are the landladies? How many of them buy house? Na baba house, oh. Na man get that house where they hear na landlady, my landlady. Where the baba where get the house? Where the baba where build that house? Where is that baba? The baba don't die 30, 40 years ago. Mama see there. The only sickness mama have is only leg pain and waist pain. You will see mama play, mama go they go, mama go they leave, mama go they go, mama go reach 180. Baba uncle, how old baba the day he die? Ask yourself, all the baba, even the ones who are still there alive, their leg is shaking, they are walking slow motion. See, this Bible, how we came, I speak it in Igbo. This Bible is my strength, is my power. When I talk, I'm telling you, listen to me. Men, I beg you, especially the young men, you will not understand. If you do not hear me now and save for your old age, you will remember me in the night. That time I must have gone. You will remember one woman, Jane Felix Obonna. You never ask her, have you seen me before? No. I just entered Facebook this year. Have you seen me before? No. My message is for men to take care of themselves. Men are suffering. The whole Nigerian men have been suffering for years and years. They have been dying quickly. I don't want the men to die again. I want men to be happy. Well, yes, somebody sent me that some mothers are trying. Yes, we have some good mothers. They are in minority. The good women, they are in minority. When you talk of percentage, when, like in Nigeria, now, say people are suffering for Nigeria. Majority are suffering. We are talking of men who die quick. They are majority. That is what I'm saying.
This is Ambazonia Calling.
Because you have your army of occupation out in West Cameroon, you believe that when the people will rise, even if you took the whole of the French army and added to yours, you will never bring them down.
And I call on all Cameroon soldiers to lay down their arms within Ambazonia and to turn their arms against the very system that has made them slaves in the land of their birth.
For more stories from around the world, go to the World Wide Web at themissionstribune.com, compassfreepress.com, and africafreedomnetwork.com.
Here is our letter to Joshua.
Dear Joshua, so we have come to that point again. I mean, the point where Nkunkuma would almost give up everything, except power, of course, when the fumes in the eyes of Nkunkuma dissipate, when whatever his devilish regime has been high on goes past the hangover stage, and when Nkunkuma is willing to climb down from the high horse he has been riding in order to beg, to plead, to cajole. That is the essence of sending out people like Yeye Africa, the one from the northern zone, sending him across the entire zone to talk to the ghosts of parents in empty council halls of the occupied nation next door, pleading with them and hoping to trick them into returning their children to the system of brainwashing euphemistically referred to as schools. What schools are you talking about here, Joshua? Look, you have done a fine job already. How else? You have convinced the very Catholic leaders of Ambas Bay Nation to switch sides with their superior in the red cassock. The cardinal has now traded places with the bishops, with the latter calling for a return to the system designed to reformat fragile brains across the occupied nation into accepting second-class citizenship. That is progress, if you would call the bishops supporting the crime against humanity, that is annexation and recolonization, progress. Just as the cardinal signaled that he understands, the bishops swung the other way, refusing to acknowledge that what opposes the bread and sardine republic to Ambas Bay Nation is not the resumption of schools. The Christian sheep may be willing to follow their very Catholic shepherds, willing to believe everything that the Catholic shepherd preached from the good book about God, but that should not translate into them thinking that the sheep agree with their misguided assessment that the hungry lion of Mvomoka is now a vegetarian. When did it become the concern of the colonizers to return the dogs, the rats, the roaches they call to school? What do rats and dogs and roaches need schooling for? Who in their right senses wants to educate those they know to be their enemy within? What is Catholic about bishops trying to convince roaches? What is Catholic about the bishops convincing roaches that their innocence will be proven in the assembly of hungry hens if that assembly happens in a schoolyard? If it was that easy, the innocence of Jesus the Christ would have been proven before the angry crowds that were shouting, "Crucify him." You have done well, Joshua, for a man who went only to have seminary and had no intention to become a priest, except the priest of Lucifer that you excel in. You have convinced them so well that I have a feeling that had they been at the condemnation of the Messiah, they might have just told Jesus the Christ, "Just allow them to nail you to the cross, Master. It is not going to hurt. It is not going to kill you. You are not going to feel any pain." That is exactly what the lawyers told themselves when they called off their first strike. They got hungry, as the colonial ministers said they would, and they eventually returned to work. 3 years down the road, they are having a new epiphany. They are having another moment on the road to Damascus, with their eyes being opened anew to the reality that the more the bread and sardine republic claims to have changed, the more it is the same. The sovereign people of the occupied Ambas Bay Nation do not want any window dressing. They do not want their bishops to bring communion to them at home or in their sickbeds. They are the builders of the cathedral. The bishops are the tenants. This is the bottom line, Joshua. If the shepherds know not how to hold up the light, then the flock must become a light for the shepherds. After all, it is about the priestly people ordained into the common priesthood of Christians that we speak of here. If you were still a Christian, Joshua, I would have told you, "Go ye therefore to every cathedral and make Christians of our bishops." Demand that they show that they belong in the old-time religion in which bishops accepted martyrdom in the defense of the faith and in defense of the faithful. From our studios here in Washington, D.C., our producer is Jeff McCoy. Our music today is from Ken Wanaku, the monk from Balikumato, William Ford, an ambassador of blessed memory, Eric Matisse on the web at soundimage.org, and Prince Ajwa Alemanji of Ajam Sonic Kitron, USA. Ambazonia Calling is a joint production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. You can find us on the web at www.themissionstribune.com, www.compassfreepress.com, and www.africafreedomnetwork.com. Next Sunday is another day. Until then, keep the spirit, keep the faith, keep up the fight for justice and independence for Ambazonia. Stay Amba strong.